blinded by greed, so insistent on increasing the scale of the flower cultivation? Do you think Yelena's health would have deteriorated as fast as it did? If we hadn't invited the Marechaussee Phantom to our doorstep by breaking the law at every turn, Yelena could have survived.
She knew her limits. She knew her days were numbered. Maybe it was for her brother, but she was in it for the Mora just as much as us. We were just trying to earn a bit of Mora. And what, we deserve to die for that? Target me for being the mastermind, sure. But what about Lucien? He was just following my orders. Lucien's crime, was it really so extreme that he had to pay for it with his life?
The only person that can answer that question is a judge.
Fine. I've said my piece anyway. Drag me back to Fontaine to stand trial. I don't care.
3 people from Fontaine, 1 from Snezhnaya, and a crime committed in Port Ormos. What a headache. Well, we can only wait until the Academia sends someone to deal with it. I'm guessing we'll have to contact Fontaine as well. In any case, we won't really know anything until tomorrow. With the exhibition, we don't even have space in Port Ormos to detain anyone. Such a headache.
The hotel could suffice. You could station a few officers to keep an eye on Sylvain and myself. Although with Sylvain's mental state and my physical one, I don't think you need to worry about a jailbreak.
Mr. Edgar, are you saying...
If Sylvain is to stand trial, then I deserve the same fate. A crime is a crime, accomplice or not. I'd just like to take care of a few things before I go. Say goodbye to my plants and all that. As for Sylvain, I'm sure he also has some goodbyes of his own. Would you be willing to grant that request, Sheriff?
Well, all right. I'll talk to the Academia. No matter who you were in Fontaine or what crimes you committed, the man we grew to know in Sumeru proved himself to be a good person. Your request is granted.
You have my thanks, Sheriff.
Happened tonight? Oh, you mean the possibility that Kyria might try to finish what he started?
Yeah, all we know is that he uses a goose to poison people, but we still have no idea how to catch him in the act. If he targets Sylvain or Edgar again, we might not be able to stop him.
That may be true, but what if we can take advantage of his desperation? If we take advantage of this situation and lure him in on purpose, we might finally have the chance to talk to him.
Master, no. That's too dangerous.
So, that's your plan. If Kyria learns we're being taken away tomorrow, his last chance to enact his revenge would be tonight. In other words, you want to use us as bait to capture him.
Capture? Not necessarily. I just want to talk. What? Are you afraid of him?
Afraid? This is my only chance to make him pay for what he did. I'm spending the rest of my life in prison anyway. I can't just sit back and let him ride off into the sunset with our fortune. There's no way I'm letting him get away with it. Not after what he did to Lucien. As for the danger, everyone else just needs to make preparations in advance to protect us.
I'll admit, it could work. We just need to spread the word that Edgar and Sylvain are leaving tomorrow. Then I'll station some of my men around the hotel. If we have your assistance as well, our chance of success would be even higher.
I still have some reservations, but if you insist on carrying out this plan, I won't deny you my help.
I'll also keep watch.
Although I think Sylvain and myself should remain alone in our respective rooms. If Kyria noticed another person in the room, he might decide to turn back. And besides, it's possible he's already transformed Auguste into a potent toxic gas.
You mean if he doesn't see a way to get his hands on the two of you, he might get so desperate that he'll just start using Auguste on everybody?
If that were to happen, everyone standing guard, even the innocent citizens in Port Ormos would all be in danger.
That's why everyone else needs to keep to the shadows.
You're still recovering. You need to rest.
This old pack of bones doesn't bounce back like it used to. I suppose I'll just have to leave the rest to you.
All right, we can figure out a plan to keep watch later. Right now, I say we split up and start spreading that information before it's too late.
Have you heard? Mr. Edgar's been detained. He's being taken away tomorrow.
What? He's the one who helped craft all the fragrances for our shop.
He taught my child how to make perfume. How could this happen?
He hasn't been convicted yet. Let's just wait and see what the court has to say.
Oh, everyone on the street is talking about the rumors. No matter where Kyria is hiding, he must have heard them by now. Let's head back to the hotel and take a break. We can see how the other preparations are going while we're at it. Emily, Sheriff Xian wants to talk to you and the Traveler about our plans for the Night Watch.
Thank you, Kale. But first, here, I prepared a kind of herbal tea that helps calm the spirit. Why don't you have some?
Oh, that's very kind of you, but I'm okay.
Oh, it's not good to be so tense, especially when we've got a long night ahead of us. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I couldn't help but notice that something seems to be on your mind.
Was it that obvious?
You seem very preoccupied with Kyria's revenge. If there's anything you want to talk about, I'm happy to listen.
Oh, Hey, Emily, Kale. Oh, are we interrupting something? No, not at all. This will be easier to talk through with you here anyway. I've just been thinking. If Kyria has the capacity to commit murder while remaining completely undetected, why didn't he target Sylvain along with Lucien last night? There was just a single door separating them. If his intention was to target both brothers, then there was barely anything standing in his way. Don't you think? When I accompanied Sylvain to his room after Lucien died, and saw how distraught he was, I suddenly realized, maybe Kyria did that on purpose. Maybe he wanted Sylvain to experience the pain of losing a loved one before he completed his ultimate revenge. So did he attack Edgar as a warning then? To scare Sylvain and Lucien?
Based on what we've heard about Curia, that may very well be the case.
Losing his sister all those years ago. What has been going through his head? What has he been forced to endure? Whenever I get to thinking like that, I just can't help but wonder. If I were in his place, would I be able to let go of that hatred? I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't think like that. Not after everything he's done. But I just can't help it.
There's nothing wrong with the way you're feeling. Empathy is a part of human nature. In all my years of cleaning up crime scenes, I've witnessed countless families mourn their loved ones. Their cries of devastation and anger still echo through my mind, even now. Some of them even try to stop me, begging me not to erase the last remnants of their loved ones. But getting swept up in those emotions will corrupt your judgment. Surround yourself with fragrance for too long, and your sense of smell will become dull. Allow yourself to be consumed by your emotions, and you lose the ability to think rationally. So while you hold on to that sense of empathy, you also need to ask yourself, do Sylvain and Lucien really deserve to die? How much did they truly know about the Fatui and the delusion? Did they force Yelena to make those decisions? Answering those questions requires a lot of time and evidence, while a single act of vengeance can put those answers forever out of our reach. I've witnessed a lot of deaths in Fontaine. When someone dies, a certain amount of information can be inferred from the traces left behind at the scene. But generally speaking, death will just leave most questions unanswered, and the whole picture ever incomplete.
Once you're consumed by hatred, it will become next to impossible to think about things that way. For someone like Curia, I'm sure right and wrong lost all meaning a long time ago.
You're right. The fact that we can approach these questions from this perspective isn't because we're more rational than them. It's because we're fortunate enough not to have suffered that kind of loss. But that also makes us perfectly positioned to stand on the outside and try to pull them back from the brink before it's too late. I understand Curia's decision, but I still want to stop him. Master, Sylvain, and Curia. They all deserve to survive.
The fortunate and the unfortunate.
Émilie, Traveler. Huh? Edgar, you're here too?
Oh, it's you two! Didn't you head back to your room to rest, Edgar? Is it really okay for you to be out and about like this?
A little exercise never hurt anyone. Besides, I don't have much time left in Sumeru. So I'd like to take care of my plants while I still can.
We could do that for you, Master.
No need. I've grown attached to these flowers, and this is my last chance to say goodbye. Come tomorrow. I'll be happy to entrust their care to you. I would imagine Sheriff Sham is here for a more important reason.
The Night Watch! You mentioned earlier that we still need to confirm our plans.
That's right. I've stationed some of my men around the surrounding area, but we still don't have anyone standing guard next to Sylvain's room. Exactly. After some discussion, we concluded that Sylvain has the highest risk of being attacked next. You're the most skilled fighter here, Traveler. And Emilie's expertise is sure to come in handy in a pinch. That's why I want you two stationed next to Sylvain's room. So, Are you up for it?
Sounds perfectly reasonable. I'll be glad to have your help tonight, Traveler.
Not a peep. Has Kirya given up on his revenge? Guess we'll have to keep at it. Still nothing unusual. Paimon took a peek into the room next door and Sylvain's already sleeping.
Perhaps Kirya's true motive was simply forcing Sylvain to confess his crimes. No, that can't be right. If all he wanted was for Sylvain to be convicted for his true crimes, he could have tipped off the Marechaussee Phantom years ago. There must be something we're missing. Something extremely important.
Maybe we just need to calm down a little. How about some tea? That herbal blend from earlier was pretty tasty. You're right. Maybe we can look for a different distraction then, like looking at the flowers. Oh, there's a glaze lily here. Paimon didn't notice it earlier.
Flowers, glaze lilies, incense. Oh no! Sylvain's room! Quick!
Wait, what?
Hey, did you hear? Someone was attacked again last night.
It was the older of the merchant brothers, right?
Yeah, I think his name was Sylvain. Poor guy was murdered in cold blood.
First it was Mr. Edgar, then that merchant named Lucian, and now this.
Listen up, everyone. This is an active crime scene. Please, no loitering.
It's been 3 days and they haven't even caught a glimpse of the guy. What is going on?
Do you think it could be the work of an evil spirit? I mean, how do you get away with something like that with so many people watching?
Keep it moving, everyone. No loitering.
I suppose I'm next.
You don't know that. Kirya already attacked you once, and you survived. Perhaps he doesn't consider your crime to be worthy of death.
You were the only reason I managed to survive, Émilie. I never did thank you for that, did I?
Even if I wasn't there, Tainari was also in the vicinity. He would have been able to help.
Is that so? I suppose I'm a very fortunate person then. I have exceptional students, caring friends, and the respect of my peers. If it is indeed my time to go, then I'll die without regrets. But Kirya has nothing. Yelena is gone. Now his enemies are too. It really makes you wonder if there's even a reason to keep on living.
If you really want an answer, I suppose you'll have to ask Kyria himself once we finally catch him.
Well, I hope it all goes well. Émilie, there's something else I'd like to ask of you. With everything that's happened, holding the exhibition is off the table now. But so many flowers were transported here for the show, some of them thousands of miles away from their homeland. I can't let them wither away with no one to care for them. Whether Kyria gets to me first, or I'm sent back to Fontaine to stand trial, I won't be around to look after them. I know it's a lot to ask, but could I entrust them to your care?
Of course, Master.
Really? Oh, I'm glad to hear it. Now I truly have nothing to worry about.
Sheriff Sham still has some questions for me, so I've gotta go.
Go ahead. Best not to keep him waiting. He can be quite impatient.
I'm sorry, Master.
Another all-nighter. Paimon sure hopes Emily's plan will go well. Oh, but Kali still looks quite worried. Let's go talk to her.
Emily still isn't back. I hope she didn't run into any trouble.
Yeah, that's true.
Traveler, I had my men start spreading the information you requested. The crowd is gone now too, but I have to admit, I'm not really sure what's going on. After listening to Emily's plan, I started getting the materials together and arranging personnel. I barely had a second to spare last night. To be honest, I'm still not sure how the crime was committed that night.
The key clue was right in front of us the entire time! Let's go! We'll show you where the culprit hid a goose. Wasn't this incense originally in Lucien's room? It must have been moved here before nightfall yesterday. Wasn't this incense originally in This is it!
The glazed lily, huh? I think I've heard of it before. It's a flower from Liyue, right?
Well, did you know? It only blooms at night.
Emily, you're back!
Exactly as expected.
A flower that only blooms at night. Ah, like the Neelatpala lotus.
Exactly. Although the Nilotpala lotus wouldn't be a good substitute in this scenario. When it's closed, the gaps between the petals are too large. That's why Kyria chose the glaze lily as his mechanism. He would start by preparing an Agus sample.
If poured into the flower pot, the liquid would seep into the soil. That might prevent... There's a sticky substance on the edge of the flower petals. It's one I recognize. If you stick the petals together with slime condensate, then, in the daytime, the glazed lily would act almost like a hidden container. If applied to the outside, you would still be able to smell a goose even in the daytime.
That's right! He applied a diluted form of slime condensate to the petals to stick them together and enclosed a sample of Agust in the center. That way, the Agust would remain trapped inside during the daytime, unable to seep between the petals and evaporate into the air. This also allowed the culprit to plant the poison well in advance while his targets remained oblivious. However, the diluted slime condensate wouldn't be viscous enough to prevent the petals of the glaze lily from opening at night. So by nightfall, the flower would bloom, thereby forcing the target to inhale the Agust trapped inside.
And Kyria could execute his revenge without having to step foot inside the room during the night.
By the next morning, the sample of Agust would have nearly fully evaporated. The glaze lily would have already closed its petals, and any lingering odor would be concealed by the fragrance of the other flowers in the room.
Wait a second. You're telling me this version of a goose is so toxic, inhaling the minute amount trapped inside a flower is enough to kill a grown man? And how did Edgar even survive ingesting a whole bottle of the stuff?
That's because Agust is just as dangerous now as it was all those years ago. The level of toxicity has never changed. Only a small subset of people are truly at risk.
Ah, you mean people who are sensitive to elemental energy. So it's just some sort of happy coincidence that Sylvain and Lucien are allergic to the stuff? That can't be right. They were involved in the operation all those years ago. If the stuff gave them a bad reaction, they would have known from the very start.
I wouldn't use the word allergic necessarily. It's more like they're susceptible to its effects. But that distinction isn't important right now. You can think of it this way. It's not that Sylvain and Lucien are innately sensitive to elemental energy, but that Kyria found a way to ensure that they would be.
The incense I smelled earlier seemed familiar. Thinking back on it, I'm almost certain it was the scent of spirit borneal. In Sumeru, scholars use spirit borneal to aid meditation and stimulate their connection to the Dendro Archon. That doesn't sound right. All kinds of essential oils commonly found in alchemical products can temporarily increase elemental affinity. In Fontaine, I experienced how drinking primordial seawater made me more attuned with the element of hydro. But that substance would be hard to get around here. That doesn't sound right.
Alchemically produced essential oils, the primordial seawater that caused unrest in Fontaine not too long ago. All of those are substances that can heighten your sensitivity to elemental energy.
us a lot of trouble when we first came to Sumeru.
Ah, yes. I definitely remember that.
In Sumeru, it's not uncommon to use incense indoors, so its presence wouldn't arouse suspicion. The flowers in the room could also serve to mask the scent.
Flowers were pretty important to this plan, huh? The glazed lily is native to Liyue. It would be completely unnatural to have one here in Sumeru if it weren't for the exhibition. What a coincidence.
Actually, it's not a coincidence at all.
No wonder he was willing to pay a small fortune to rent out the hotel.
He probably used the Mora Yelena left him, don't you think? That money was supposed to set him free. But in the end, it was just a tool for his revenge.
There's a saying among forensic doctors in Fontaine. Every step you take leaves a mark. But up until this point, we haven't been able to detect any trace of Kiria's activities. That's not because he was coming and going undetected, or because he's some kind of evil spirit, but because he's been disguised as someone else this entire time.
The Mora spent to rent out the hotel, the way the Auguste flower was cultivated, the method used to disguise his appearance. It all points to one person. The boy... Creating such an intricate mechanism out of a glazed lily, setting up the spirit Borneal in advance, and arranging for Sylvain and Lucien to stay at the hotel, it all points to one person. Kiria and Edgar are one and the same.
But Kiria was only in his teens back then. He wouldn't even be 40 years old by now. Edgar's lived here for so many years. Even if he changed his appearance, going that long without giving anything away, it would be impossible.
Bad news, Sheriff! Mr. Edgar was attacked!
What?
A dark shadow-like figure just ran out of his room. It was giving off a really ominous aura. But before we could even react, the figure up and disappeared like some sort of ghost or something. By the time we got a look inside the room, Mr. Edgar was gone! Do you think Kiria kidnapped him?
I need you to think very carefully about this. Are you certain that figure wasn't Edgar himself?
I mean, Mr. Edgar was so frail. I don't see how he could have moved that fast.
It would seem Master decided to tap into an ill-advised source of power.
What? But that's so dangerous with the condition he's in.
But why? Why would he do that? He's already accomplished his revenge.
No. If his aim was to target everyone who had a hand in Yelena's death...
If he left Sylvain alive yesterday, not out of a desire to see him suffer, but to confirm the truth about why Yelena chose to die...
Then there's still one target left.
The shadow-like figure ran in the direction of the elevator, and my partner immediately chased after them.
We should hurry before they're forced to confront each other.
Where in the world did he go? Let's ask the merchants nearby.
A ghost! It's a ghost!
It's all right. Please, calm down and take a deep breath. Can you tell us what you saw?
I saw a black shadow. It ran right past me. How could something like that happen in broad daylight?
This is terrifying.
No! Don't come any closer!
It's all right. I can detect a faint whiff of the scent from here. I would say he passed by this location not too long ago. It's this way. Please, follow me.
Illusion shattered!
The scent is getting stronger. This must be the place.
Oh! O's! Are you all right? Were you attacked?
No, I'm all right. I was just chasing after that figure, and then all of a sudden, I didn't feel so hot.
Let me take a look.
The air definitely feels heavy. It smells nice, but for some reason, it's hard to breathe.
This feeling, I've encountered it before.
Everything looks all right. It was probably just the stress of the chase, combined with the impact of the environment. A bit of rest would do you some good.
I can't rest. Mr. Edgar is still in there. He taught my sister how to make perfume. He's a good man. I can't just abandon him to die by Curia's hand.
O's, you need to calm down and listen to me. Edgar is the one we're after. He and Kyria are the same person.
But how is that possible? I thought you said Kyria was in his 30s. Mr. Edgar is 70-something. Changing your appearance to look decades older, that doesn't seem possible.
That's precisely why he had to resort to extraordinary measures to age himself. Kyria used a delusion to bring back the Auguste flower, corroding his body in the process, just like his older sister.
No. He couldn't have. Mr. Edgar has been in Port Ormos for years. If someone started impersonating him all of a sudden, we would have noticed.
And what if the impersonation started before he ever set foot in Sumeru? I've yet to confirm it, but I suspect Kyria killed the real Edgar in Fontaine not long after his release from prison. While Edgar was incarcerated, Kyria started making preparations to replace him, including forcefully aging his body, studying perfumery, and planning the real Edgar's demise. The new Edgar then decided to relocate to Sumeru, seemingly out of an innocuous desire to let go of the past. He even left perfume making in favor of mentoring students. But these decisions were all for a specific purpose: the need to distance himself from anyone who might see through the facade. And Sumeru fit the bill to a T, with no one around to question his identity. All he had to do was grow a beard, don a pair of glasses, make a few minor alterations to his appearance, and everyone would believe he was exactly who he claimed: Edgar, a perfumer from Fontaine. As the years went by, he removed his disguise little by little and continued to refine his skills. It would have been a gradual process, one that ensured no one around him would notice anything unusual.
That explains why Sylvain said he barely recognized Edgar back at the hotel! He aged himself decades beyond his years just so he could accomplish his revenge! Is that even worth it?
I need to find Mr. Edgar. He's not that kind of person. He can't be.
What you really need is to get out of here and rest.
No, I can keep going.
Wait! This environment is likely being influenced by the delusion. Any discomfort, no matter how slight, should not be treated lightly. I know how to relieve your symptoms, Mr. Ooze. Please come with me and rest. I'm sure Kyria... No, Edgar wouldn't want any more innocent people implicated in all this.
Kale's right. The Traveler and I will take things from here. From our brief exposure to a goose, it would seem the substance has little effect on us. This leads me to believe those blessed with a vision or capable of wielding elemental power are more resistant to the effects of abnormal elemental energy. In other words, this environment doesn't pose as much of a risk to us. Actually, now that I think about it, this stronghold likely has multiple points of entry. If the target were to escape from a different point of entry, that might allow him to evade capture. I hate to trouble you, but we need people to survey the perimeter.
Thanks. Hear that? We're heading out. There's work to be done. Ooze, head back to Port Ormos and start gathering reinforcements.
Got it.
Traveler, Émilie, Paimon, please be careful. For someone whose only purpose in life is revenge, there's no telling—
Don't worry. This isn't the end. Not for us or for Kyria. We're not going to let a goose kill anyone else. It's time for the mythos to fade into obscurity. Monsters. Perhaps they were attracted here by the increased level of elemental energy. Reconstitute! I must be imprudent.
Everybody stand back! Let's light it up!
Here you are.
I've never seen these seeds before. They must also have been created with the power of a delusion. It seems to be avoiding us, and there's no other way forward. Perhaps we could try luring it to the edge of the cliff. Extract! Reconstitute! Yeah.
Whoa, look at all the Auguste flowers! There are so many of them. I can't believe a single person did all this. Must have taken a lot of time.
I fear that statement is truer than you know, Paimon. Using a delusion comes at a cost. Not just time, but the time you have left to live.
But why would Kyria need this many Auguste flowers? He only needed a few bottles of Auguste to carry out his plan, right?
Perhaps hatred wasn't the only emotion fueling his obsession with Auguste. Not long ago, he told me he didn't want all the flowers transported to Sumeru to wither away in a foreign land. But Kyria betrayed Snezhnaya, abandoned Fontaine, and lived his entire life in Sumeru under the guise of someone else. For someone with nowhere to call home, perhaps dying among a bed of Auguste flowers just like his sister is the best homecoming he could ask for. Neutralize!
Shine down!
This'll brighten up the place!
Ha! Yeah! I'm going in!
Reconstitute!
There is no escape!
The scent of flowers is getting stronger. We're almost at the end. The scent of flowers is getting stronger. We're almost at the end.
Did they catch up that fast? No. My strength is just waning. But it doesn't matter. This is far enough.
This is a garden of Auguste flowers. But it's not mine. It's the one that was set on fire all those years ago in Fontaine. Yelena? Yelena! You tried to hide it from me, but I always understood. The reason why you continued to use the delusion, the reason why you set your garden on fire, it was all because of me. I shouldn't have listened to you that day. I shouldn't have taken the Mora and ran. But by the time I realized something wasn't right, there was nothing left. The flowers were gone. And so were you. I know I'm almost 20 years too late. I should have come looking for you earlier. I should have died with you that day. Yelena? Yelena! No! Don't leave me! Please! Yelena!
Émilie? I'm alive. No, that's not possible. I saw her. Yelena, we were together.
That was an illusion, likely brought about by the residual toxin in your body coupled with the pollen in the air, neither of which are fatal.
No, the amount of Auguste I drank, it should have been enough. A fake, but how?
We started making the preparations last night with one goal in mind: to create a perfect accord. The accord is the basis of perfume making,
the product in its most primitive form. Ambergris mixed with cedar wood, rounded out with a base note of agar wood.
This is the scent of leather?
Exactly. We're unable to extract essential oils from leather, but by combining other raw materials, we can recreate its essence. That is the purpose of an accord.
Does that mean you can recreate any scent in the whole world?
I'm afraid not. Certain fragrances in this world are simply one of a kind. That quality is what draws people in and fuels their obsessions.
If I wear a goose to the ball, I'll also be one of a kind. Our competitor already got their hands on it.
It doesn't matter how much it costs. I have to buy something better.
This fragrance will be one of a kind no more. Myths can be deconstructed. Miracles can be recreated. All it takes is skill, experience, limitless exploration, and a little patience. The only thing left is determining where the real Auguste is hidden. Pretending to be attacked means he's not free to move around. Auguste must be hidden within reach.
Paimon took a peek through the window earlier and his house was packed with flowers.
The curator commissioned a flower pot from Kasharawar, capable of retaining heat and moisture.
Perfumes are as beautiful as flowers, and equally as delicate. When stored, you must take care to control the temperature and keep them away from direct sunlight. Did you get all that, Émilie?
I got it.
Did you hear? Someone was attacked again last night.
So, Sylvain is dead. Is that right?
Yes, Master.
So, you switched the bottles of Auguste, and then lied to me about Sylvain's death.
Convincing you that your revenge had been completed was the easiest way to get you to let down your guard.
Impossible. Even if you found a way to switch out the bottles, there's no way you could have made an accord. If Auguste was so easy to replicate, Yelena wouldn't have.
It was a combination of rainbow roses, glaze lilies, and Cecilias. Those ingredients would have conflicted with each other if you tried to combine them in the past. But recently, we found a way for them to work together.
Rainbow roses, glaze lilies, and Cecilias.
Auguste was created over 10 years ago. All this time, people never stopped analyzing it, never stopped trying to recreate it. Perfumery techniques are advancing day by day. We've found better ways to extract essential oils, separate oils and fats. We even discovered new ways to combine fragrances together. The mythos surrounding Auguste may have been untouchable almost 20 years ago, but now it's time for it to become a thing of the past.
The past?
You've been working as a perfumer for all these years. You should have always known that it is possible to make an accord, even if only in theory. But the meaning you assigned to Auguste became so inflated, you allowed yourself to get lost in it, just like the perfume mania that captivated the public all those years ago. You believed in its divinity and grandeur. You believed it was entirely one of a kind. Your obsession with Auguste is also what allowed us to predict how you intended your plan to end, and to make preparations in advance.
We just didn't expect it to happen so fast.
Well, you hit the nail on the head now, didn't you? So, Sylvain isn't dead. Since you've been preparing your accord since last night, I assume you've also figured out my method, then. That means the news of Sylvain's death. The crowd gathered outside the hotel this morning. It was all an act you put on with the sheriff?
Yes. If we hadn't, you might have resorted to the delusion out of desperation, or continued to use your Spirit Borneal and Auguste combination to wreak havoc.
Who knows? Maybe I would have just offed myself then and there.
I know if you had things your way, you would carry the truth of Edgar's demise and the secrets of this garden to the grave, but I'm sorry, Master. I don't want to see any more death. Sylvain only inhaled a small amount of poison. He's being detained as we speak. All the crimes he concealed back then will be exposed in a court of law for everyone to see, and all his secrets will be revealed. The same goes for you as well.
Is that so? Well, I suppose I'll be spending the rest of my days in a prison cell then.
Whoa, he accepted that kind of fast.
I don't feel the need to justify my actions, nor do I intend to repent for them. I did what I set out to do. I may have lost in the end, but it was my choice every step of the way. And if I could do it all over again... But there's no going back, is there?
Careful, everyone. This environment is dangerous. I'll lead the way.
Stick close and hurry up. We can't let Edgar die.
Looks like I'm almost out of time. Although, I do have one final question, Émilie.
Of course, Master.
The combination you used to make your accord. How did you figure it out?
The scent of Auguste is complex and varied, yet the main ingredient consists of a single variety of flower. So, as I was analyzing the sample yesterday, I got to thinking, what if the scent of the Auguste flower was already imbued with that complexity during its cultivation?
You're saying Yelena designed Auguste to have the scent of multiple flowers?
Rainbow roses, glaze lilies, Cecilias. The perfumers of the past knew that if you combined their essential oils directly, they would just cancel each other out. It was a conundrum they could never solve. But if you cultivate a new flower species that intrinsically carries the unique features of those three scents, you can bypass that issue entirely. It goes without saying that for that time, this idea was a stroke of genius.
Rainbow roses, glaze lilies, and Cecilias. Those really do seem like flowers you would choose, Yelena.